Say hi. So we're gonna make a cooking video because we want to. He's eating cheese. Today we're making risotto, specifically duck risotto with mushroom. Very excited to make that. I made some duck confit a few days ago, and I intentionally made a little extra than what I needed for our meal that day so that I could make a risotto a little later. Didn't crisp the skin up yet, so I'm gonna crisp that up as part of this. Sprinkle that on top when we're done. And so let's get cooking. All right, here's everything we need to make dinner today. We've got our mushrooms, Florida oyster mushrooms specifically. Probably won't use all of these, and I'm gonna cut them into two sizes. We'll keep some large, and then we'll chop some up really small that will kind of cook with the risotto. We've got our rice. We're using arborio rice. You can also use cannaroli rice. I have homemade duck stock. Here's my duck. Got an onion, garlic, parsley, white wine, and then we've got some butter, ricotta cheese, and some Parmigiano Reggiano that we'll grate up. Let's go ahead and get everything prepped. So when you're grating cheese for this, it's really important you use this really fine side of your box grater because you want this like snow powder like texture with your cheese. That way when you fold it into the risotto at the end, it fully melts and integrates. It's also really important that you use authentic Parmigiano Reggiano. Do not use Parmesan cheese. This stuff should be made in Italy. It should be aged at least 2 years. It's not that much more than Parmesan cheese, which is usually made somewhere in the United States. Don't ever buy that stuff, that green stuff, in a can. It won't melt. It's low quality. It's full of anti-caking agents. So always buy real cheese. Always grate your own cheese. All right, we've got everything prepped and ready to go. A couple of key things with risotto is that you need to constantly be stirring it as you add your stock. So I'll talk a little bit more about that as we're cooking it. Also, a lot of times when you cook rice, you should be washing it before you cook with it. You don't want to do that when you're making risotto because you really want the starches to build up as you agitate it as you're cooking it. So don't rinse your arborio or cannaroli rice or whatever you're using to make risotto. So make sure you are really building those starches up. So we've got everything prepped, and we're gonna go ahead and get our stock heated up so that we can add warm stock to the risotto as it cooks. And you want about a 3-to-1 ratio of stock to rice. So we're gonna cook a cup of rice, which means we're gonna warm up three cups of stock to go with it. So let's keep rolling. All right, so I got my stock heating up. I took my duck skin from my duck confit, and I actually have it in a cold pan here. Like I said, I didn't crisp it up when I made it the other day. So if you've never made duck confit, the skin doesn't come out crispy. Once the duck's finished, you have to crisp it up before you serve it. But I wanted to save this step for today. So I have it in a cold pan to kind of slowly render a little bit of the fat out and crisp it up, kind of like you would bacon. So cold pan here, and then we're gonna get this saucier hot, and we're gonna start our risotto. I kept my mushrooms in 2 different sizes, so I chopped some up real small. They're gonna go in here and they're gonna cook with the risotto. I picked off some pretty ones that were on the larger side. I'll probably fry them in here after the duck skin is done. These will kind of go on top so you can see them when you're eating. Don't ever cook anything in the risotto that you don't think can like cook for 20-25 minutes, because that's how long it takes to cook. So if you're doing a seafood risotto or chicken or any kind of protein, doesn't matter what it is, other vegetables, you cook them separate and then you add them in at the end when the risotto is wrapping up. So I have my duck meat here from my confit. So what I'll do is I'll fold this into the risotto right before it's done to warm this up. It's been in the fridge for a couple days, and we'll go from there. All right, so we got a stainless steel saucier here. Let's test it for heat. You can see we're almost there. See how that water kind of sizzles? I don't know if you can see it on camera. And then some of the water kind of bubbles, runs around the pan. We're almost at heat. We're almost hot enough to start cooking. We've got our duck skin starting to sizzle over here. Give that a little turn. There's not a lot of rules with risotto. If someone wants to tell you there is, they're lying, or they think they're in the pasta police, but they're really not. So when it comes to risotto, there's only a few things that are like extremely important that you have to do to make it correctly. One is you need to slowly add your stock and constantly stir and agitate your rice to build up that starch. The second thing you need to do is cream it at the end. There's actually, the Italians have a word for that, I don't know what it is, but you take it off the heat at the end and you mix in things to really bring it all together, make it creamy. Today in our risotto, to do that, we're gonna use the Parmesan cheese, a little bit of butter, and some ricotta. So our pan should be hot enough now. It is. You see water's running all over? Let's get them out. We're gonna go in with a little bit of olive oil. Nice splatter because there's still some water in there. A little bit of olive oil. Roll it around. Make sure the pan is coated. Gonna start with our mushroom. Again, these are the little pieces we chopped up that are gonna cook in with the risotto. These are gonna totally lose their texture and everything. They're in here for flavor. As you can see, I cut them up pretty small so they kind of blend in with the rice and everything. So we're gonna give them just a little head start. They're gonna soak up a bunch of that oil, obviously. Duck skin's almost done. Beautiful. We'll get that set aside. Whoa. Careful. Pinch of salt on this. These, set them aside. Okay, these are starting to get a little color and get their water content released. You know, that kind of looks like a lot of onion. It is. I like onions. You don't have to use that much onion, or any onion. You can use none. I made a point to dice that onion really small, so it's kind of the same size as the rice. So we got some duck fat in the pan here. I'm gonna add a little olive oil to it. And we're gonna whack these big mushrooms. Hot. Just added the olive oil to stretch it out a little. There wasn't quite enough duck fat. Hit those with some seasoning. Again, these are going to kind of be our garnish. So we're just looking to get good color on those. We'll set them aside when they're done. We're not looking to caramelize the onion. We're just looking to kind of sweat it out and get it translucent. Sweated onion. Alright, these mushrooms, so you can see, beautiful color. Look at that. Get them on our plate with our duck skins here. Set them aside. They'll warm up from the residual heat of the risotto at the end. Take that off the heat. Set this aside. Alright, once our onions are about where we want them, I think I need a little more oil in there. The mushrooms soaked up or whatever. The pan's kind of dry. Got our onions sweated out. You really want a tool for this that can let you really scrape the sides and the bottom of the pan. Okay, onions are pretty much where we want them to be. We're gonna add our rice. We want to toast that out for a minute or two. And then just before we start adding stock, we'll add our garlic. I see so many people burn garlic. I don't know if they like burnt garlic and they're doing it on purpose. Pretty lame. If you ask me if they are, I think a lot of times they just don't know what they're doing wrong. Garlic only needs 30 to 60 seconds to cook, so when you plan on eating it, put it in late. Now if you want to put it in early, let some of the flavor come out, take it out of the pan, you can do that. That's a perfectly acceptable garlic technique. What you don't want to do is put it in up front, toast it with like all the stuff in here, and just let it burn. Sad. All right, let's go ahead and get in here with our garlic. Boom. See, stick it on the bottom a little bit. So again, the only thing that's in here that has to be in here to make it risotto is the rice. Give it a little pinch of salt. Once you can smell the garlic, you have it. You have garlic in your food. All right, so we are sticking a little. That's okay. We kind of want that. This next step is super common, but again, there really aren't rules. You don't have to do this. We're gonna go in with some white wine. That was the equivalent of, I don't know, glass. Just kind of cook with feeling. Only cook with wine you'll drink. It's not going to taste better because you cook it. I used a Chardonnay. This is Natura made with organic grapes Chardonnay. This one's actually from South America, from Chile. So, looked really good. I used this app called Vivino. Had really high ratings on there. Thought it'd be a cool wine to try. We're gonna drink the rest. And that's part of the reason you want to use wine you're willing to drink, is you don't need a full bottle for most recipes, so gotta give the rest a good home. We are gonna cook this until just about all the liquid's gone. We've really concentrated that wine flavor in there. It'll be delicious. You could do a red wine. I thought about it. A lot of times duck gets treated more like red meat, even though it's a bird. But I really like the way white wine shows up in risotto a little better. Just a personal preference. But you cook with what makes you happy. I think a red wine would actually do well in here. I'd probably use a red wine if I was gonna do some kind of beef, something like that. All right. We're gonna go ahead and start adding our stock, one ladle at a time. I like to set a timer for 20 minutes when I'm doing this, only because I just want to know how long I've been doing it, and I'll start tasting it. You know it's done when the rice is increased in volume and is to your preference in terms of how much bite is in it or how soft is in it. So, all right, and we'll just do this one ladle at a time. We need to stir it a lot so it doesn't stick to the pan, and so we continue to build up the starches. So I'll keep doing this and speed it up a little for everybody watching, and then we'll come back when we are getting ready to finish it. All right, so we have incorporated our stock and we are near the finish line here. You can see it's kind of flowy. It should be flowy. You should be able to kind of toss it like that. If you can't toss it like that, it's not flowy enough. So we're just gonna taste it for, oh yeah, al denteness. Al denteness. We're gonna put the duck in now, because it needs to heat up. So I actually want to put the duck in while it's still on the heat before it's completely finished. And then I'll show you how we cream it to wrap it up. So let's get that duck incorporated here. Look at that. Break up some of those pieces. Everything here is local. Shout out to Noonday Farm. Not everything. I just talked about imported Italian cheese a little bit ago. The duck is local. It's from Noonday Farm in Landrum, South Carolina. It's about 15 minutes from here. Love those guys. Get ducks, chickens, and turkeys from them. The Florida oyster mushrooms are from Wildly Loved Mushrooms. Shout out to my guy Chris over there. That duck should be nice and brought up to temperature now. Let's try a little piece just to make sure. Okay. Can confirm, duck is warm. All right, so we cut the heat. Easier said than done on an electric stove. Take it off the burner. We are gonna fold in just a little little bit of ricotta. What's that? Quarter cup, half cup. Gonna get our butter in, a few knobs. Our parm. Not all of it yet. We might save. We'll see how much we need. Stir, 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 stir. Done. We're done with the heat. Everything from here on out is based on the residual heat from the cooking process. Let's see, it's jiggly. Taste for seasoning. Use a little pinch of salt. Definitely use some black pepper. I haven't peppered at any point yet. Some black pepper in there. Stir, stir, stir. Taste for seasoning one more time. One more little pinch of salt. Got it. All right, let's plate it up. All right, let's go ahead and plate this up. Cool thing about risotto is if you make too much, you can make arancini with the leftovers, which is very exciting. I don't think I made too much today. But it's a big plate of risotto. Something I forgot to do on camera is add the fresh parsley. So that's on too. All right, so if you've done your risotto correctly, you can put it in a lump and tap the bottom of the plate, and you can see how it spreads around. See? Shake it a little too. All right, we're gonna take our crispy duck skin, sprinkle that around. Take our big, beautiful mushrooms that we set aside earlier. Hit it with what we have left of our cheese. We have a little extra cheese on top. Oh. Huh. That'll do it. Let's enjoy our risotto.